else? What have I missed?
That could be a spoiler. I really don't know.
All right, cool. I'll just let that one go. Man. Come up, Grant. Just let's get right to the chase.
Yo, I'm also here.
San Diego, California, what is good? I get embarrassed because sometimes I'm out of breath from dancing, but the green room...
You also had to split.
Well, the green room is across the parking lot. And I was like, oh, it's almost 8 o'clock. I wonder when the thing's gonna happen. And then I heard the music and the crowd roar. But as I definitely am not using this as an excuse to catch my breath.
Oh,
this is
do
Grant.
you want me to
Grant,
talk?
how's it going?
Hi, I'm Grant. Thank you. Some real Grant heads in the crowd tonight.
Say again?
Grant heads in the crowd?
Yeah, some big Grant heads. They've seen the episode.
The one other episode I've been on?
And Johnny Frolickstein's being a big Grant guy in the crowd, maybe. Can you vamp for a second as I get my laptop, which is absolutely crucial to the show, and I left in the green room because I freaked out because I heard the song.
Right. How about San Diego? It's so cool. It's really beautiful. It's by the ocean. You guys know all this. Here's what my guess is, because Mike always likes to rag on the rival city. Is the rival city Los Angeles? Yeah! Okay. So we also have a show in LA tomorrow, and I technically live there. Yeah, no, I know. I'm so sorry. I imagine the show that...
I need the key to the green room.
Oh, my God.
I'll be right back.
He did hand the key in a very, Chekhov's "the key is being handed to you" Grant way when we were in the green room. Because he has pockets, and I have pockets. There's no reason I should have it and he shouldn't have it. Anyway, I think LA's rival city is also LA. I think LA hates LA just as much as everybody else does. Okay. Hey! So now that you've run 3 laps, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, now that I got my steps in for the day, yeah.
Yeah, you can take that. The water bottle needs it less than me.
All right, well, now that the crowd's all nice and warmed up by you, let's talk about Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So, what we're going to be talking about today is chapter 14 of the 4th book, which is called My Brother Duels Me to the Death, which is intense. I know, right? Huh? Percy's going to die already? Or some other guy? Now, before we get into this particular chapter, though, this is your first time on the News Olympian.
Yes.
So I get to ask you the first guest question, which is, what's your history with the Percy Jackson books? How'd you come across them?
I think I was a nerd, and so somebody recommended them to me at some point.
Sure.
Very early on, and I was reading them as they came out, and I really loved them. And then I went back to listen to this chapter on Audible, and I realized I have no clue what happens in this book. So I did start from the beginning, so I'm up to where we are. I'm a little past where we are, okay. But that's my current Percy Jackson knowledge, but yeah.
I'm excited. I'm glad to have you on. I was very excited that you had read them so that we could make this work.
Yeah.
And it's also fun now as I get farther along into the series. It's not as crucial that you remember everything. It's just crucial that you don't spoil me on stuff.
Sure.
So
there's a big spoiler in chapter 15.
Ooh,
so that's, there you go.
Well, I have not read that one yet. So
I'm going to try to avoid remembering what it is.
As long as you don't say it. We'll be good. So let's get into this chapter. Now, what I always do with the chapters is try to guess what the chapter title is referring to. So mention that he's going to be fighting his brother to the death. Figured, all right, I don't think it's going to be Tyson.
Yeah.
The only thing that it could be is if they're forced to fight each other, but they very recently split apart, so it would be weird to kind of have it like Hulk and Thor in the 3rd one where it's the friends have to fight. I don't think that's going to happen. So what I had written here was Tyson? No. It's got to be the son of Poseidon that Chris Rodriguez was talking about. Something in the arena? Some sort of monster that's also a son of Poseidon? As far as pre-chapter guesses, past Mike Schubert knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, nailed it.
I very rarely do it well, but I did just describe chapter 14. So, when we last left our heroes, they had just added Rachel Elizabeth Dare to the party, and they are going through it, nice and smooth, and definitely one of the other two people does not hate her. Super cool when 50% of your two new friends don't want you around at all, ever. Now, they've added her to the roster, and they are going to go through this secret entrance into the labyrinth that's in the basement of this Marriott in New York City. So the door to the labyrinth is kind of hidden behind a laundry basket, and then there is a symbol etched into it. It is the Eta symbol, so it makes sense that that would be where they need to go. Looks like it's going to be the entrance.
I like the idea that the symbol of Daedalus is like really hard to find and like difficult. And isn't it just a triangle? Or am I thinking of another?
That's Delta.
That's Delta, which is what it is it not?
Is it a Delta symbol? Yes. Why was I thinking? I was thinking Eta. I had said Eta because that's what Hephaestus' stuff is. But no, it's the Delta for Daedalus. So you're right. It's just a triangle.
Somebody drew it for the first time and they were like, wow. And I was like, I think it's a triangle, but I'm not sure. And I'm not going to check.
It would also be really hard. Thankfully, they usually glow up blue when it's actually the door. But like, there's lots of triangles out there.
Yeah.
So it'd be really hard if you were trying to find the labyrinth.
Are we looking further into the fact that Rachel's initials are red and her hair is red? Is there something there?
There could be something there with the red and the red.
Anyway.
It does help in my notes because I usually abbreviate characters. So like in my notes, Percy is PJ, Annabeth is AB, Rachel Elizabeth Dare is RED. It does help with the red that I know it's referring to Rachel Elizabeth Dare, the hair and the initials. It helps. Yeah. Great. So they see that the door is semi-hidden behind a laundry basket. The Delta symbol is etched into it. Annabeth says that it hasn't been used in a long time, and Rachel Elizabeth Dare says that she tried opening it once, but it's rusted shut. And Annabeth goes, that's not why it wouldn't open. She says it needs the touch of a half-blood. And Annabeth is just always ready to one-up Rachel Elizabeth Dare, no matter what.
It's a really tough look for otherwise my girl Annabeth.
Yes, I agree.
I know she's in a tough situation. Her quest is being hijacked by Percy, as it was always his. She doesn't know his name is on the title of the book.
Yeah, she can't look up at the top of every page and see that it's not called Annabeth and her stupid friend Percy Jackson.
So, I sympathize a little bit with the position she said.
Right, yeah. Now, Annabeth puts her hand up to it. The symbol then glows, and it reveals a staircase downward. And Rachel Elizabeth Dare has changed into a MoMA shirt and marker-colored jeans. Is that a weird way to say black?
That I wasn't sure about. And it was also, like, her usual marker-colored jeans. So, like, are they all colored with markers? Or is that, like... I don't know. I used to color markers on my Adidas, with the little things. It was so cool.
Any designs?
So cool.
Any designs that you have
to say the F word? Probably
you
not,
are because this bar is 21 up. So I'll bleep it on the podcast, but you're good.
That's also something cool people do is ask if they could say the F word or not.
Look, it's a family-friendly podcast, so I appreciate it. I've just Googled marker-colored jeans.
Oh, okay.
And, I think it means literally like coloring on your jeans with markers.
Wow.
Is at least what the internet is telling me.
She's got
Okay, cool. All right, I guess.
I didn't know we did that.
I didn't either. I knew people drew on it, but I guess I wouldn't call that marker-colored. I'd be like markered up or...
I feel
drawn
like
upon.
If I make another joke about how cool I am, like it's gonna ruin it for the rest of the show. So, but yeah, I had no idea people were doing that.
She's got her trademark jeans on there. Now I need to know exactly what these drawings are.
Right.
So Rachel Elizabeth Dare asks if Annabeth should go first, but Annabeth mockingly insists that Rachel Elizabeth Dare should go first because she's the guy, and so she should lead the way. And as much as I don't like the way that Annabeth is approaching this situation, the way that she is handling her pettiness is elite. It's really good. Like, I don't like that she's being a grump about this, but the way in which she is grumping is wonderful.
I respect Rachel's, and this is gonna come up again, I think, her just like refusal to hear passive aggressiveness. Like she's just like, Annabeth's like, you're the guy, and she's like, oh cool, yeah, all right.
And I don't know if she is oblivious or if she just has no patience for it.
I wouldn't like her, so I'm going number 2. I feel like she's just like, this girl will come around, and I'm just gonna tough it out.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. Yeah, I think it's great. So they go in, they arrive at a red brick tunnel, and once Annabeth and Percy flick on their flashlights, they are immediately face to face with a non-human skeleton. It's 10 feet tall, and it's chained up to make an X, and it only has a single eye socket in the skull, so they know that it's from a Cyclops.
Yeah.
Annabeth says that it's too old for it to be anyone that they know, which Percy picks up on as the politest way possible to say, no, your half-brother Tyson is not dead. So that works out, puts us at ease. Percy is not completely at ease, though, because whatever could kill a Cyclops and then put it up as a warning outside of this entrance is clearly not someone to be trifled with.
Yeah.
Now, Rachel Elizabeth Dare is surprised that they know a Cyclops. Percy explains Tyson and that whole situation, and then he adds that they're also looking for their satyr friend, Grover, and Rachel Elizabeth Dare immediately is in a what have I gotten myself into situation.
Not when she descended into the mysterious tunnel, but then it's like somebody's like a Cyclops exists. She's seen way scarier shit than a Cyclops.
Right.
But presumably she doesn't know that Tyson is like a lovable guy.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I would imagine that she does get to meet our lovable goofball, Tyson. Now, they progress through and they come upon a fork in the tunnel road, and straight is more brick to continue down a tunnel that looks similar to what they've walked through thus far. On one side, there's old marble, and on the other side are roots, much like the dirt situation that Tyson and Grover saw and then went through a couple chapters ago. Percy votes that they should go through the dirt path because he wants to reunite with his 2 missing friends. Annabeth votes for the marble path because it's old architecture, and then that could mean it's the oldest part of the labyrinth. They're trying to find the workshop, which is the oldest part, so that would make sense. But Rachel Elizabeth Dare says that they should go straight. Annabeth and Percy are not feeling it. They're like, why would we do this? Why would we go?
This is a cool thing to do to your guide that you just recruited.
That's what I'm saying.
15 minutes ago, we were like, we need you. And then 15 minutes later, we're like, I don't know, it smells nice that way. So.
Yeah. We've brought you on for one job, and we're immediately questioning whether or not you're capable and qualified for it. Rachel Elizabeth Dare, despite Annabeth and Percy not feeling it, she calls for them to look at the floor. Percy doesn't notice anything strange, but Rachel Elizabeth Dare says that the roots are moving like feelers, and the marble has holes in it, perhaps for a booby trap. So, fake roots on one side, approaching death on the other side.
Extremely unsettling roots.
Yeah, you don't want that. Not at all.
There's a lot of unsettling imagery around squiggly things recently.
What else? What have I missed?
That could be a spoiler. I really don't know.
All right, cool. I'll just let that one go. Percy does not see what she's talking about, but he goes along with it. Annabeth is shocked that Percy believes Rachel Elizabeth Dare, but then Percy asks, what, do you think she's lying? And Annabeth does not protest and then just motions for Rachel Elizabeth Dare to continue. So they go further in, and it starts to angle downward, like they're going deeper into the maze. Long latitude, vertically.
Yeah.
So they're going deeper vertically into the maze. Percy is surprised that they haven't hit any sort of trap yet. Rachel Elizabeth Dare asks if it's always this easy navigating the labyrinth, which is great. So good. So good. Annabeth asks her where she's from with a bit of a tone, kind of like, what planet are you from?
Yeah.
Rachel Elizabeth Dare says Brooklyn, so still on vibe because Brooklyn is the farthest away from everything. I don't understand how it can be so far.
I forgot you had this opinion, yeah.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
I'm really sorry about whatever Brooklyn did to you.
It's just so hard to get to.
I lived there for 6 months. That was really tough.
But you actually lived in a part where it was easy to get to by public transit, which is a rarity for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm moving to Astoria soon, and that's going to be even harder to get to Brooklyn. Big win for Astoria. Annabeth asks her if her parents will be worried that she's out so late. Rachel Elizabeth Dare says no, adding that she could be gone for a week and they wouldn't even notice. And that changes Annabeth's tone immediately because she's got a history with parents that don't care about her as much and family issues.
I, too, am kind of biased against people who have great parents. Not that mine weren't great, just like shoe's got to drop at some point because bad parents keep popping up. So like,
All right. They hear a creaking as if a door has opened, so we don't get to hear Rachel Elizabeth Dare's response to why not. No one is sure what it is making this noise, aside from just hinges on the door opening. They then hear footsteps quickly approaching, so Percy offers that they run. Rachel Elizabeth Dare agrees, and they turn around, but just a few feet ahead, they are met by two Dracani, and between them is Kelly with an eye, our demon friend. So Percy uncaps Riptide, Annabeth draws her knife, and Kelly with an eye pounces on Rachel Elizabeth Dare and puts out her claws and puts them right up to her throat. She says, quote, "Taking your little mortal pet for a walk? They're such fragile things, so easy to break." Again, a villain that you're supposed to hate, but like wonderfully hateable, Kelly with an eye. The footsteps get closer, so they weren't just Kelly's footsteps. The footsteps get closer and they see what is approaching, a Laestrygonian giant with fangs. It asks if it can eat them. Kelly with an eye says no, because his master, so the giant's master, will want them. She orders them to move or she'll kill them all, starting with Rachel Elizabeth Dare. So they say, cool, we'll move. Sounds like the better option. After a little bit, they see a 10-foot tall set of bronze doors adorned with crossed swords. And behind the door, they hear a muffled roaring as if it's coming from a crowd. Yeah. So clearly this is going to be the arena that has been mentioned a couple of times leading up to this chapter.
I have a lot of questions about the crowd.
Okay.
What are they doing at other times?
It's a good question.
Where are these people from? Who are they? I mean, I think they're mostly mythical creatures of some kind, but just like, how do they know how to get there? What are they doing? And also, like, what is the experience of the coming to see the games at this Coliseum?
I wonder if it's just a situation where they're also lost in the labyrinth, but then they found an arena and then they thought, well, at least there's cool entertainment here.
Right.
At least there's something to do. It's kind of like when you're in Brooklyn and it's really hard to get anywhere else.
And so you see the games.
You see the Barclays Center. You see the Barclays Center, and you're like, oh, I can watch some subpar basketball.
Yeah, true.
Unless the Knicks are playing. Or the Liberty. The Liberty are going to be very good this year. And they play at Barclays. A devastating development.
Sorry about that.
I know. I'll have to go. Gross. Dracana tells Percy that their host will have fun with him. Percy asks who it is, and the Dracana says that he'll see, but she predicts that they'll get along well since they're brothers. Percy's very surprised, as we all were when we read this chapter title for the very first time. The giant confiscates Riptide and Annabeth's knife and then picks up Annabeth by the shirt, telling her to stay put. The Dracani forces Percy to enter the arena, and she does so by kind of spear prodding him in. Percy enters, and he tells Rachel Elizabeth Dare, who is still at claw point, that he'll get her out of this, and then he enters. So it's a decently sized circular dirt arena, and there's a fight going on between a giant and a centaur. And the stands are absolutely packed with all sorts of folks.
People who live nearby, I guess.
Yeah, just the neighborhood. In addition to a bunch of people in a crowd, there are also skulls everywhere.
Yeah.
There's skulls on the railings, the stairs, the chandeliers, just devastatingly terrible vibes.
Yeah.
Not what you want to see. Some of the skulls are bleached, and some of them are fresher, which narrator Percy describes as, I'm not going to describe them. Believe me, you don't want me to. And I'll take it. I was eating lunch when I read this chapter, so yeah, I don't need that. On the wall behind the spectators is a giant green banner with Poseidon's trident on it, and above that banner in a throne is Luke. He's dressed just as he was in Percy's dream, where he's got a bronze breastplate and camo pants, and I think a white shirt underneath. And he still doesn't have his poorly named sword, which has now been brought up 2 times in a row. So clearly it's some sort of important reason why he doesn't have Backbiter. I don't know if that sword we saw a couple of chapters ago is going to be his.
The scimitar thing?
Yeah, the big scary one. I thought that was going to be for Kronos, but I don't know if Luke's going to get some big scary sword, but clearly it is important that he doesn't have his sword. Now, next to Luke is the largest giant that Percy has ever seen. He's 15 feet tall, and he takes up 3 seats. He's wearing a loincloth, he has red skin, and wave tattoos. And then I'm like, all right, yeah, for sure. We've met the titular brother.
Yeah.
Percy thinks that he must be Luke's new bodyguard, meaning that this is 1000% the villain of the chapter, because Percy cannot be correct. The centaur in the fight that Percy saw is getting absolutely wrecked. He gets hit towards Percy, and he gives him a look pleading for help. Percy instinctively grabs for where Riptide would be. Riptide obviously is not there, but the Dracani steps in anyway to tell Percy not to interfere with the battle, or they will kill his friends. So she tells him, your turn is soon, wait your turn, or else. The centaur can't move because he's got a broken leg. The giant pins him under his foot and then raises his javelin and then looks to Luke. And then the crowd chants, death, which is very intense. Luke does nothing, but the red-skinned giant rises from his chair. The centaur begs, but the giant gives a thumbs down, classic sort of gladiator stuff. Percy closes his eyes as the giant thrusts the javelin into the centaur. Now, because I have taken Latin in high school,
Yeah.
I am happy to report that the thumbs down thing is actually incorrect.
Also
You know
took
this?
Latin in high school, and so I know this exact fun fact.
Yeah, the fun
Go for
fact,
it.
what they actually used to do in these things is thumbs up meant go ahead and kill him, which
Yeah.
I think is way more devastating than thumbs down. Because like when Joaquin Phoenix is doing it
Yeah.
in Gladiator, he's like, yeah, like it's way cooler to be like, yeah, dude, go kill him. Like that's way more savage. That's way worse.
We know you want this.
Yeah. All right.
We know you want
Death
this.
time. Yeah. Way more devastating. So I'll have to tell Uncle Rick this when I eventually get him on the pod. I can be a well actually guy. I won't say this at all.
Yeah.
I won't bring this up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rick. When the javelin gets thrust into the centaur, the crowd erupts. The centaur fades to dust. When Percy opens his eyes, only sees that. The only thing that remains is a hoof, and the giant holds this up, and the crowd erupts again in roars.
This book is so much darker than I remember any of the books being. Mm-hmm. This moment is really horrifying. Some other stuff that may or may not have already happened is really horrifying.
This chapter, as I was reading it, I thought it was the most gruesome
Yeah.
of the chapters.
Do we already know what about?
Let's just not.
Yeah, all right,
let's
all
just
Yeah, okay.
let's just not. We'll see if we come across it.
Yeah, sure.
So the gate opens, the giant leaves, and the other giant, our big, red, wavy friend, calls for silence. He says that this was entertaining, but nothing out of the ordinary. He asks Luke what else he's got, and he calls Luke a son of Hermes. Percy can tell that bugs Luke, which I think is great. Love that. I like when Luke is not happy. He addresses the giant as Lord Antaeus. Obviously, got to talk to Dr. Moy about this guy's whole vibe.
Yeah.
And he says that he's been a great host, and he'd love to repay him for letting them pass through in exchange for some entertainment. Antaeus says that he hasn't granted them passage yet and demands further entertainment. Luke bows and says that he's got something better than centaurs for fighting. Percy, son of Poseidon, can fight next.
Yeah.
Crowd jeers and throws stones at Percy. He dodges all of them except for one, which nicks his face and leaves a bit of a nasty cut.
Pretty metal. I mean, like, he's 13, but that's cool as hell.
Yeah, I mean, coming in with a bruise, like ready to rock. He's in battle
Yeah.
mode.
I just like thinking about my big wavy giant friend. It could have been, the whole chapter could have been just like, okay, so on his bicep, we got this kind of wave, and they're sort of cresting, and that would have been fine with me.
Just like a lengthy description of the wave
20
stuff.
pages, like, we got the waves in the teeth. We got, he's really put some effort in.
Yeah.
And
He has an aesthetic,
Yeah.
and he's sticking to it, and you have
it's
to appreciate
skulls and
it.
waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got his vibe, Yeah. To each their own. And he's a skulls and,
And
waves guy.
Yeah. Any one of us could be a skulls and waves guy.
If you really just put your mind to it. So Antaeus is very excited. He says that Percy should either fight well or die well, so it'll be fun to watch. Luke asks if Antaeus will grant them passage if the death pleases him enough, and Antaeus says perhaps, and that annoys Luke. He wants some full commitment. Luke glares at Percy. Annabeth tells Luke to stop this. Luke is taken aback that Annabeth is even here, and Antaeus says that she can fight afterwards and asks Percy what weapon he wants. Percy gets shoved into the middle of the arena, and he asks Antaeus how he is a son of Poseidon. Antaeus says that he's Poseidon's favorite son, and that this arena is a temple to Poseidon. It's adorned with the skulls of those he's killed in Poseidon's name, and he plans to add Percy and his skull to that list.
Yeah. And no second thought about whether this is going to have repercussions for him.
Nice. Just
If
like,
he
this
kills
is, my
Percy.
dad will love this.
At no point is he like, I don't know. I mean, he sort of let me get away with all, like, I sell my hot dogs and I'm calling all the kids who live around the monster Coliseum to hang out with me. And like, I've basically been running under the wire, and like, I'm gonna kill his newest son.
But I'm his favorite, so I can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like he needs more communication to see what Poseidon would actually like.
It seems like a lot of people might need that.
I feel like the moral story
might
of
be
this
helpful.
book is opening up communication lines. So he wants to add Percy to his skull collection. Percy is just in absolute disbelief that Poseidon is this guy's dad, because from everything that Percy has experienced with Poseidon seems like a nice guy who wouldn't necessarily enjoy this temple as a gift. Annabeth tries to explain that the giant's mother is Gaia, but the Lystragonian covers her mouth before she can fully explain why this is relevant.
Which is really scary because it means Percy's going to have to figure something out.
On his own.
On his own.
On his own.
He's going to have to put a lot of very obvious clues together.
Well, we'll get those.
He's notoriously bad at that.
We will soon get this. Percy knows that this must be an important detail, but he is not sure what it could mean other than this guy's going to be tougher to kill than normal because he has two godly parents. So off to an all right start, Percy. Now, Percy ridicules Antaeus for thinking that Poseidon would like this temple, and I appreciate the trash talk of Percy, but maybe not for giant guy who is, as you said, the largest giant you've ever seen.
Right.
Like, maybe this is not the right guy to talk trash to.
I also, like, how many sons of two gods are not gods? Is it just this guy, or are there other guys?
I don't know. I could also ask that of Dr. Moya.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the crowd boos, and Antaeus silences them again. He asks Percy what weapon he wants, and Percy says his sword. And I just wrote, there's no way they're giving it to you, dude. And why would you ask for this? But the crowd laughs, and then Riptide appears in Percy's hand. And I was like,
Pretty cool.
oh, right, that whole thing. I honestly forget about that all the time. So every time Percy does it and I'm reading, I go, oh, cool. It's great. It works all the time. Antaeus yells round one, like he's the guy from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And then it really does get video gamey. It's very
video gamey.
It's very Kingdom Hearts, the Hercules arena.
Oh, that's such a good call.
Right? Because it's the big dirt arena,
Yeah.
and then a gate opens, and then people go, and you have to fight them, and then it's round two, et cetera, et cetera. So the gate opens, and a Dracani with a trident and a weighted net emerges, and even narrator Percy calls it classic gladiator stuff. But Percy absolutely bodies her like it's clockwork.
Yeah, no
Even as the
problem.
narrator, he sounds bored. He's like, I've been training for this kind of fight for years. Pish, posh, clah. When he deals the killing blow with Riptide, Antaeus roars that Percy went too quickly and that he's supposed to wait for the kill order. He's not just supposed to do it on his own. Percy looks to Rachel Elizabeth Dare and Annabeth, and he knows that he's got to find a way to get them free. Luke praises Percy's improvement with his sword, saying, I got to hand it to you. And I'm just thinking, I don't want your approval, Luke. Get out of here. Antaeus then yells for round two, and this time he wants a slower kill, and he wants Percy to wait for his approval. The gate opens, and out steps a kid that looks a little bit older than Percy. Percy, as the narrator says, he thinks he's about 16. And this kid has glossy black hair and an eye patch. Percy asks who he is, and he replies that his name is Ethan Nakamura, and that he must kill Percy. Percy asks why you're doing this, while a monster from the crowd yells for them to do less talking and more fighting. Which, again, makes me really feel like they're in Brooklyn. Hey! Quit yapping and start fighting over there! Ethan answers Percy's question with saying, quote, I have to prove myself, only way to join up. And then he begins to attack.
We're thinking he's talking about joining up with the Titans, or because they can't have all fought in this specific game, or maybe they have. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Join up was a weird turn of phrase. And thankfully, the end of the chapter makes me feel like we might get more conversations with Ethan, and then we might learn what exactly he was talking about. But he didn't say level up or rank up. Join up.
I noticed
strange.
join up too, because it feels like language you might write if you were trying to hide who he's joining up with.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's only two sides at the moment, but maybe there's a third side.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Percy feels conflicted about fighting this guy, but he realizes that he's not really given much of a choice because he's actively being attacked by him, so there's only so much you can do. Narrator Percy notes that Ethan is good and that he's clearly trained, but he's never seen this kid at Camp Half-Blood before, so he's not sure where he trained. So again, another interesting intrigue for Ethan. Now they're going back and forth fighting, and they're continuing to block each other's attacks. Some monsters yell, "Blood!" And this crowd needs to take it down a notch. So far, they've only booed, said death and blood, and jeered Percy. That's it.
I'd hate to be the guy who's sent out to vamp for that crowd. That seems a lot harder. It's like we're having trouble getting somebody out of the stables, so could you just like go out there and hang out?
What's the deal? So they've chanted blood, and when they do, Ethan glances at them, and Percy recognizes this as his advantage. Ethan has to impress the crowd, but Percy does not. So Percy just keeps defending and defending, basically just pulling a rope-a-dope on Ethan, and Ethan's got a bunch of armor on. He's ready more for defense, so Percy's thinking, I'll just tire this guy out, and then he'll make a mistake, and then I'll be in business. So after 5 minutes of fighting with no hits, Ethan goes for a jab, and he goofs it because it's too big and lungy, so Percy can easily parry it, and then he disarms Ethan, and his sword flies out of his hand. Percy then hits him in the head with the hilt of his sword, and then Ethan falls down, and Percy kind of has him at sword point. Ethan tells him to do it. Antaeus gives Percy the thumbs down, but Percy says, forget it, and then just sheaths his sword, which is rad. Yeah. That is super cool.
He took the slow note, so he took one of the 2 notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also thought it was cool. Earlier book, Percy's could not fight someone for 5 minutes. Be like, oh, I'm going to do a slow defensive fight. That doesn't really seem like his thing.
Yes, he's learned other strategies more than just, I'm going to hit him. Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah.
He's showing growth for sure. Ethan calls him a fool, saying that they'll both be killed now. Percy offers to help him up, and Ethan begrudgingly accepts. So now he's up. Antaeus yells that they've disrespected the game, and their heads will become tributes to Poseidon. Percy tells Ethan to run when he sees an opening for it, and then he turns to Antaeus and challenges him to a fight. Classic Percy, where he just walks in a room, says, who's in charge here? You're in charge? Fight me, coward. It's honestly a great strategy, though. It always works. The crowd begins to murmur. Antaeus looks around and realizes that he has to accept this challenge, otherwise he will look like a coward.
Right.
He says, quote, I am the greatest wrestler in the world. And I was like, whoa, Stone Cold Steve Austin would like a word.
I was like mentally casting him, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go with Stone Cold, but I think that I think someone in that area is correct.
Well, they do have a wrestler playing Ares in the Disney Plus show.
Oh, who is it?
I don't know him well enough.
Never mind.
Does anyone? He's got like a cool like one-word name when he's wrestling.
Edge?
Edge. Yes. Thank you.
That's rad. Edge is great.
I don't know Edge, but I've seen the photos and I'm like, yeah, that guy looks angry. That'll work.
I had a WWE face. Speaking of me being cool.
So they could maybe get someone from the world of wrestling to be this guy. It could be fun. So he says, I'm the greatest wrestler in the world, boy. I have been wrestling since the first pancration?
You nailed it. 100%. I was there, and that's how they said it.
Okay. Percy asks, what's that? Ethan says it's a fight to the death with no rules and no holds barred. It used to be an Olympic sport. Did it really used to be an Olympic sport?
I mean, I feel like they wouldn't just throw that out. Yeah, like we were doing whatever. We were naked in the first Olympics.
True.
I was there, as I mentioned.
Rachel, Elizabeth, and Annabeth look very concerned. Percy points his sword at Antaeus and says, winner takes all. I win, we all go free. You win, we die. Swear upon the river Styx. And I like that he's learned his lesson from the last time he made a promise and they went, But that
he's only halfway learned his lesson.
I will get to the thing that happens after.
It makes me save it for this.
So mad. So mad and so frustrating. Antaeus laughs, says this won't take long, and accepts. Ethan wishes Percy good luck, adding that he'll need it, and then he backs away. Antaeus cracks his knuckles and smiles, revealing that his teeth also have waves etched into them, which is very cool. Antaeus asks Percy about weapons. Percy says he's going to stick with Riptide, and Antaeus wiggles his fingers and says, this is all I will need, which is phenomenal. Oh, devastating how good that is.
Yeah.
Oh, terrifying stuff. Antaeus asks Luke if he will referee the match, and Luke says, with pleasure, like he works at Chic-Fil-A.
Didn't we just Sorry, I'll let that Luke joke
No,
sit
that's
a little
good,
bit.
that's good.
Didn't we just say there were no rules? We just said no rules, no holds barred, and we're like, Luke, will you referee?
That is a great point I didn't think of.
Luke has no responsibility here.
Now, my second point, aside from him being
okay.
a Chick-Fil-A dude,
Yeah.
is that this is why I'm not going to feel bad for Luke when inevitably in book 5 he does that, oh, I'm so sorry, woe is me,
They're gonna
and then
get
helps them in the end.
They're
which
gonna get you,
it's-
100%. They're gonna get you.
That's what's going to happen, and I'm not looking
Yeah.
forward to it. But this is why I won't feel bad for him, because he does not have to do this at all. Like, there is no world in which this has to happen, and he has to be so mean. Even if you could make the claim where it's like, oh, you had to provide the entertainment, Percy had to fight. To add the with pleasure, get out of here. I have no sympathy for this guy. I'm not going to feel bad.
It's also
at
not
all.
a tough guy thing to say. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of these scenes are Luke trying to be like, yeah, you should call me sir and lord, and he's saying like with pleasure.
Yeah. Nah, he's trying way too
There's
hard.
not a lot there. We could move on.
Antaeus lunges. Percy rolls under his legs and stabs him in the thigh. But rather than blood come out of the wound, sand emits. Narrator Percy says, it spilled onto the dirt floor and the dirt collected around his leg almost like a cast. When the dirt fell away, the wound was gone. So I wrote in my notes, I wonder if his mom being Gaia means that the earth heals him.
Yeah.
Look at the now
Yeah.
31-year-old
There you go.
as of 3 days ago. Thank you very much.
Did I wish you a happy birthday? I don't think I did. Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Look at me understand the stuff that's in a middle grade book. Antaeus charges again. Percy uses his giant fighting experience to dodge and counter with a deep jab in the ribs, riptide, so deep that when Antaeus turns abruptly, Percy is sent flying, but riptide remains in the rib, truly being riptide. Now, Percy waits for him to disintegrate. No other monster has withstood such a blow and been okay, but this Antaeus is not your run-of-the-mill monster. He yells in pain as he rips out the sword, tosses it behind him, and then the same sand-dirt situation happens.
Yeah.
He's back to full health, and he taunts Percy.
I think the way the sand dirt thing is described is really cool. Like
is
the fact
cool.
that it's a cast and not just like, you remember Spider-Man 3 when Sandman would get the stuff?
I really do like it. Yeah, it's a nice one. Now, Percy catches Annabeth's eye, and then he realizes what she wanted to say. The earth heals him.
Yeah.
Now, I'm, of course, feeling great at this point in time.
You got there like a minute before him.
Couple sentences.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
And you were just sitting there and he was fighting.
Very true. Percy knows that he's got to get Antaeus off the ground if he wants to have any chance in this fight. So he tries to pull a move to get around Antaeus to grab Riptide, but Antaeus keeps blocking Percy. Percy sees the skulls on the hooks above, and he gets an idea. He then feels the pen reform in his pocket, so he knows he's got Riptide. And again, I went, oh yeah, cool, because I forgot again.
How many Riptides reforming per page before you remember? What do you think the limit is?
I don't know. Maybe now that I've made fun of myself for it on the podcast, I will remember it. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that makes sense, though. It worked for me, too. They got me both times. Yeah. 100%.
I'll have to see.
100%
I'll
got
text
me
you
both
next
times.
time.
Yeah, please.
I'll be like, oh man, chapter 16, I freaked out. Now he's got the pen. He knows he's good to go. And he also knows that Antaeus does not know this. I guess the crowd didn't make any sort of reaction to the sword disappearing. Like they didn't go,
Big guy.
Or if they were, yeah, well, isn't the crowd
Do you
all
think
or no,
the
there was
seats are
audience of
really
just one piece?
big because he takes up 3 seats, right? But he's
Right.
the biggest giant Percy's ever seen. So are the seats big?
I don't know, but I feel like this sort of
Everybody
place-
wants more what is the Coliseum like content. I can tell.
I feel like this place should be all bench seating because if you're appealing to monsters of all different shapes and sizes, it's probably just easier to have a bleacher situation. Just have a big row and then you don't have to worry about,
I think it is bench seating, actually. I think at least the first row is
so
bench
it's
seating.
just taking up 3 seats. It's like when you go to a baseball stadium and they
Right.
just have the little placards on
Right.
like the seat number. Yeah. So maybe it's just that because that makes sense. There's a bunch of Dracani here and they're supposed to like squiggle their tail into a chair. No,
Yeah.
not at all. Anyway, this is Arena Corner. Let's get back to the story, which was in the middle of an intense fight scene. And we're like, but what about?
We're making content.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to be something.
Yeah. We're going to find my post in the notes. This is why you come to the live show.
You guys remember when Tyson dies off screen?
Oh my God.
It's like later somebody comes up and they're like, Tyson died. It was really bad, dude. And Percy like weirdly laughs it off. It's like, it's like a really weird chapter.
All right, I got it. Percy knows that because Antaeus thinks Percy wants to go for the sword, he's going to use that against Antaeus. So he rushes at Antaeus, making it look like he's going to try to run under his legs to get where the sword was. Then Antaeus crouches over like he's fielding a ground ball. Percy jumps on his forearm and then launches up to his shoulder, starting to crawl all up him. Antaeus reflectively stands up, and then Percy utilizes the momentum and the force to jump up and fly towards the ceiling, and he grabs the top of a chain, and then he wraps his legs around it like he's in a ropes course. And then he saws off the chain closest to him, which I found confusing at first until we see what Percy's plan is, and it's super cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going to describe it because I got really lost.
It made sense up until a certain point,
yeah.
And then even narrator Percy kind of yada-yadas it, so it's all good.
Everyone remember we're way smarter than Percy.
Antaeus bellows for Percy to come down. Percy tells him to come up and get him, unless he's, quote, too slow and fat, which didn't love that, but that's a, mid-2000s book. Antaeus reaches for Percy, and he grabs a chain, and then he begins to pull himself up. Percy uses the sawed-off chain. I literally wrote in my notes, uses the sawed-off chain to hook Antaeus by the loincloth. Percy secures the chain so that Antaeus is sort of suspended in the air, and then he starts swinging around like a monkey to hook Antaeus up to more chains. This is where I kind of didn't exactly get how it works, but he's basically going and sawing off chains and hooking him up at different places so that he's completely suspended and high enough away where no point of him is close enough to the dirt where it can do the dirt cast move.
Yeah, it does feel really Kingdom Heartsy, actually.
Yes.
I wonder if Rick has ever said if he's played Kingdom Hearts.
I will ask him that. I'll add that to my very big list of important questions to ask.
Because also, doesn't the Keyblade like reappear?
It does. Well, what's wild?
Has anybody played Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Great.
Well,
cool.
what's wild is that Kingdom Hearts is the crossover between Disney and Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Percy Jackson's a Disney property.
Oh, he could.
And Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out. It's not impossible.
I couldn't make it through Kingdom Hearts 3. It's really tough. Kingdom Hearts 2, where they go to the Tron land and it's like 1980s Tron, like that was really rad.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is good. The Kingdom Hearts prequel game is really good. What's what?
I was just
okay. No, we are running short on time. But I could talk about Kingdom Hearts for hours and it'd be a problem. It's so good. Those games are great. Shout out to Johnny in the crowd who got me all the Kingdom Hearts games on for my registry gift. It was like the Kingdom Hearts every single game package.
Oh,
and he got it for us as our wedding gift. Yeah.
That's nice.
Kelly and I played them all through during the very fun 2020 we all shared.
Yeah, I remember that.
Great time to play a million video games. So, swinging around like a monkey, hooking him up, doing all that sort of video game stuff. Percy then reaches the ground. Antaeus demands to be let down. Luke orders Percy to free him since he's their host. And Percy goes, I'll free him, which is so good. What a great little action line. He stabs Antaeus in the stomach. The sand pours out, but he's too high above the ground for the dirt cast thing to happen. Antaeus eventually pours all the way out and dissolves. And then Luke says, Jackson, I should have killed you long ago. And Percy goes, you tried.
Yeah.
Percy firing on all cylinders. Luke firing on 0 cylinders. Percy continues, let us go, Luke. We had a sworn agreement with Antaeus. I'm the winner. And then Luke pulls some shenanigans and he says that Antaeus is dead, so his oath dies with him.
Yeah.
It was an oath to the death. Like, how? It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
That you can't do that.
I feel like this is why you have the daughter of Aphrodite make the oath. Because I feel like it occurs to her the legalese of like...
Of Aphrodite, not Athena?
No, of Athena, okay. Sorry. It occurs to her that like, he's dead and he's signing the thing if we win. So we need to change some things around.
I'm excited for the next time Percy challenges someone to a fight where he lists out legalese for 3 pages. And they have all the stuff and they've got the multiple if this, then that.
He's going to start making mortals sign NDAs. Like, he's going to really lock it up.
Non-compete. There's going to be the mediation clauses. Yeah.
We need this Evan kid to sign a non-compete and that way he can't go over.
Oh, gosh. Ugh. Luke says that he's feeling merciful, so he'll have Percy killed quickly. He points at Annabeth and with a slight quiver in his voice, commands for the guard to spare her. Luke wants to speak to her, quote, before their great triumph, which I don't like the sound of, whatever it is.
This is really subtle, and everybody bought it. Everybody in the crowd was like, that's a totally legit reason to spare her, dude.
Every monster.
No feelings here at all. It's just this.
Everything's okay. This will be great. Yeah, the great triumph. Every monster either draws a weapon or readies their claws. Percy then feels the ice whistle. And then I wrote, all right, here we go. Finally. He thinks it must be a trap to use it, but he's got no alternative in this situation. So he blows into the ice whistle and it makes no noise. It shatters and then it melts in his hand. Luke laughs and asks what that was supposed to do. But then there is a yelp of surprise from the guard who was holding Annabeth, and then it is followed by an all caps "Aroof!" and Mrs. O'Leary enters. Kelly screams, yeah! Kelly with an eye screams as Mrs. O'Leary picks her up and tosses her through the air. Percy tells Annabeth and Rachel Elizabeth Dare to come on and for Mrs. O'Leary to heal. Rachel Elizabeth Dare identifies the proper exit that they should leave through. Ethan is joining Percy towards that exit with Mrs. O'Leary trailing them. And narrator Percy ends this chapter, and we will end this portion of the episode with, quote, as we ran, I could hear the disorganized sounds of an entire army trying to jump out of the stands and follow us. And that's super intense. And that maybe clues us into who the crowd is. Yeah. It's just Luke's army.
Yeah. Nobody's there on the other nights.
It's just Antaeus I'm imagining it's like a lot of improv shows I did where it's just like the significant others of everyone else performing, and that's the crowd. I've done my fair share of those shows.
Yeah.
It's a fun vibe.
Yeah, I think people have fun at those. I've been to one.
Yeah. Well, what I had fun doing was this act of the show.
Oh, right.
Now, if you are listening to the podcast at home, I'm going to go to the ad reads, and then after that, we'll do a Q&A. If you're here in person, you've got more options for intermission. Hello and welcome to the Admiral of the Labyrinth Amsterdam edition. I have some fun live shows planned for today, if you are listening to this on Monday, March 13th, when the episode releases. And I've just completed the Dublin shows and the London shows on Tour. We've got a whole bunch of shows going on. You can still get tickets to a lot of them. Only a few are sold out. You can go to thenewsolympian.com/live to get tickets to the Amsterdam TNO shows, or the Copenhagen shows, or the Helsinki shows, or the Oslo shows. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's Germany shows, Berlin and Munich. All of that, thenewsolympian.com/live. But tour stuff aside, let's talk about some other updates for the podcast. First, I'm going to be putting up a whole bunch of bonus audio on Patreon. So if you join the Patreon at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon and you join at the Super God tier or above, you get access to bonus episodes and bonus audio. And one thing that I'm going to do is do a bulk upload of all the different little clips that don't make it into the episode, either things that get cut for time or things that Sherry sent me. I've got a bunch of them saved up on my computer, and I'm just going to post those all to Patreon in the very near future. So check that out. That's going to be fun. And speaking of that Patreon, I'm going to give a shout out to the folks who have joined most recently. So shout out to Ali Morales, Jeffrey Howard, and Trevor Saborin, who have all joined at the Demigod tier. Thank you so much for your support. May Hermes bless you, where if you get on a bicycle, not only do you ride swiftly, but you maneuver well. There's lots of bike riding here going on in Amsterdam, and some of the swerving that's going on is quite intense. So if you do anything of that caliber, I hope that Hermes can keep you swift and balanced and get to wherever you're going quickly and safely. Now, if you're all caught up on the News Olympian and you are looking for a new podcast to listen to, I make a whole bunch of shows. You can learn about all my shows at my personal website, schub.es. One of the shows you will learn about if you go there is Meddling Adults. Meddling Adults is a game show for charity where I serve as the host and guests compete to solve mysteries from classics like Scooby-Doo and Encyclopedia Brown, and whoever solves the most in an episode earns money for a charity of their choosing. We've been fortunate enough to raise thousands of dollars so far, and season 4 is in its mid-season break. We did 5 new episodes this year, and they were delightful, and the guests were delightful, and we did new mystery series that we haven't done before. It was really fun. You can listen to those and every episode at meddlingadults.com or by searching for Meddling Adults wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, before we finish out this episode with the Q&A from the live show, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors who make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of these ads will be read by me, such as one from our new sponsor, Headspace, which is a meditation app that I've used to help me fall asleep, and I genuinely really enjoy this app, so if you want to hear that ad read, stick around. And you also may hear ads that are not read by me. Those are locally inserted, so if you live in the Netherlands, don't be surprised if you hear an ad in Dutch about pancakes. I passed about 5 pancake places on the way from the train station to where we're staying, so I wouldn't be surprised if you hear an ad for a local pancakes shop. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back to this episode of the newest Olympian.
I'm just going to pick this first one at random. The subject line is Q from me in all caps, and then in parentheses it says Kelly. So this one is from a longtime listener of the show, Kelly Beckman Schubert. Kelly asks, is cereal soup? And is a hot dog a sandwich? And then in parentheses, sorry if these are bad questions, it's bedtime on the East Coast. I will say cereal is not soup because soup has to be cooked. Like the broth has to take in the ingredients. So cereal is not soup. And then a hot dog is not a sandwich. It's a hot dog. It's different. It's not bread, something bread. It's like in a little like holding pattern. Same reason why a taco is not a sandwich.
Yeah.
Is that your stance on both of these?
If you're I am also in a little holding pattern whenever a hot dog is a sandwich comes up. I'm just sort of like chilling out until we move on, and then I'm going to jump in later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm 100% with you on soup. If I ordered breakfast soup, first of all, wild choice by me.
Or Untapped Market.
Yeah, if I ordered breakfast soup and just normal cereal showed up, I'd be like, oh, I'm having a disappointingly normal time.
Yeah, if someone was like, hey, come over for dinner, we're having soup, and then they just give you a bowl of Lucky Charms, I'd be like, cool, but this isn't soup.
Yeah, gotta agree with you there.
Not soup at all. All right, this next question, also at random, subject line is Pan Diego, and it's from a longtime listener to the show, Johnny Frolickstein, who has left to catch his flight.
Oh, no.
So that is why he was not on stage for any portion of the show, but he was in the crowd, and that was fun. Shout out to the guy who was sitting in front of Johnny, and after I called that out, turned around and said, are you Johnny Frolickstein? It's great. I wish Johnny would have said, no, I'm the other Johnny Frolickstein. You know how that name is common. Now, Johnny Frolickstein says, one question for each of you. Grant, well done vamping. Would you be willing to adopt the nickname Gramps for Grant Vamps? Not bad.
I guess I'd say I wouldn't immediately balk at it, but also like I believe firmly that you're not allowed to choose your own nicknames.
Right.
So like if that happens, I will begrudgingly adopt that as part of my identity. That's something other people get to decide.
Yeah, you have to be given a nickname.
I also think I simply made a show of how bad I was at it, and that's like if there was any appeal to it at all, that was the appeal.
Well, then it could be one of those things where like the big buff dude who's a henchman is named Tiny.
Right. Yeah.
So you could get one of those things going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Johnny also has a question for me. Mike, I haven't told you this, but you'll be speaking at my rehearsal dinner in 2 short weeks. I did not know this. That's cool. That's very fun. Please give a short rehearsal dinner speech for Grover and Polyphemus. Oh, because they almost got married. Okay. So I guess I would be like, I'd have to pick like how I'd fit in. So I'd have to be like, thanks for having me, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm reading the book about Grover's life from the perspective of one of his friends. So I've known him for like 1.5 years now. And when I think about Grover, I just like to think about how selfless Grover is and how he's always looking out for other people and he's always putting others before himself. And when you think of Polyphemus, he's just only concerned about himself and nothing else. So I think it could be like a cute opposite attracts situation. And when Grover told us that this wedding was happening, it just felt a little strange. It kind of felt like, are you doing this of your own free will, or is this against your desires? And Grover said no comment, which I thought was a little strange, but we've seen love blossom in all these different ways. So Grover, I just want to say that I'm happy for you and Polyphemus. I would just say, please don't eat Grover. Thank you all so much for having me. I got 2 weeks to write a awesome speech for Johnny.
I think you could just use that one.
Like, yeah, I can copy paste, Control F.
I was just imagining how beautiful the rehearsal dinner for a satyr's wedding would be. It'd be really nice. There'd be vines growing everywhere, and like where does the table start and where does the tree end? You don't know, like that kind of situation. Anyway, let's move on.
Good. Let's do some cues. All right. This one comes from the Pancake Mage. 1, love your narwhal shirt. Thank you. It's in the green room because I'm always dedicated to a costume change. So I've changed into a purple shirt. I left the fun button-down shirt that I was going to wear for this in the hotel. Good thing I decided at least to wear like a shirt underneath and not like something weird where I was like, I don't know, sometimes I'll wear like a tank top or whatever underneath the sweater. So I don't want to like, regardless. Thank you for the compliment on the narwhal shirt.
Guns are looking really good these days.
What are?
Your guns.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, they're looking really good these days.
I actually appreciate that because I've been working on my arms more and stuff. So I'm just going to actually take that to the bank.
No, I actually noticed. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Number 2. If you could swap any 2 characters between Harry and Percy, so Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, which 2 would they be and why? So we're going to flip-flop 2 characters. Okay. I would... Man, I feel bad for whoever I stick with Harry Potter if I pick someone like from the trio. Like if I swapped Annabeth and Hermione, it's like, oh, that's really a disservice to Annabeth.
She's do even more work in Harry Potter than she has to do.
What I would do, I would swap in one of the Weasley twins.
Yeah.
Because I think you could have more hijinks going on. Like there's no class clown in Percy Jackson yet. Yeah. So I feel like putting a twin into the Percy Jackson world would be fun. And then maybe if we're going for like friend but semi-side character, we could get Selena Beauregard over into into the Harry Potter role because then we just have like another French person. She could go to Beauxbaton. It would make sense. We'd have more than just Fleur and her sister. So that would be my swaps. What about you?
I went sort of the other way where I was thinking like, what's the most story-breaking swap and which story breaks more? And I think it's Tyson and Snape. So,
Whoa! You've chosen chaos.
So I think they actually would know what to do with Snape and Kip Half-Blood. Like, I think Percy Jackson breaks less.
Yeah.
If Snape is in Tyson's role, then if Tyson is in Snape's role.
Yeah.
Like, Harry Potter does not work anymore if Tyson is in Snape's role.
Look, him teaching potions could be really fun. I like it a lot. All right, this one comes from John Thompson. The subject line, San Diego show, Kingdom Hearts with 4 exclamation points. So obviously I had to open it. Hi, Mike. As a fellow Kingdom Hearts fan, it would make my day to know what your favorite Kingdom Hearts game / memory is. P.S. A Riptide Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 4 would be rad. So I think my favorite game is actually the prequel game called Birth by Sleep. It's so good. It's so good. It's really fun. It kind of sets up some of the lore. You get to play as 3 different characters, and you go through like one character story and then the other, and then it all intertwines
they have,
and
like,
continues.
Different powers too, if I remember.
Yeah, and the fighting style's a little bit different. And then they also have this thing where you can level up your attacks, and the way that they do it is called command boards. Each of the Kingdom Hearts game has a different thing where you can kind of like power up by like not just doing the main story. And what these are, it's just Mario Party without the mini games. So it's like moving around a board, rolling dice, getting on squares and stuff, and then you can power up your stuff. Kelly and I, when we would play, since it's one player game, we would just kind of like either be playing at the same time when it was the main story, or if we were doing something like this that was story adjacent, one of us would just play. So Kelly, she would do this with like phone calls, you know, if you had to like call Delta and it's going to be like an hour long wait, you know, stuff like that. So she would get on and just do this, and she loved it. And she's never played Mario Party before, but she just like loved it. She's like, I love the command boards. We were so leveled up that we beat this game so handedly. Like we were so powered because she would just do these all the time. And then the first time we played Mario Party together, she was like, wait, this is great. I was like, yes, because the fun part of Mario Party is the mini games. If you like the dice rolling part, you're gonna love Mario Party. Do you have a favorite Kingdom Hearts game?
It's boring, but I think the first one. Just like
it's
the first
classic.
20 minutes of the first one are like magic. No, I mean the whole thing is good, but like the minute where you're on the island, you're following through the stuff. It's like, has there ever been a better beginning of a video game than that? Probably not.
It's a really good intro. I do like the beginning of Tony Hawk's Underground, though.
Okay, yeah,
really
true.
Solid.
Yeah.
All right. This one is from Preethi. At what point will you cover the Disney Plus show on TNO? Right as it's coming out, because I think it's going to work out to where the show will come out just as I'm finishing the books, which will be wonderful.
Yeah.
So The basic plan there is like whenever the show comes out, like say the release day is Wednesday, then the following Monday I would do an episode about whatever the episode of the TV show covered. And then there's another question. If you got into a fight with Percy, when Percy inevitably stabbed you with a riptide, thanks for assuming I'm going to lose.
You're going to get dropped. Yeah, you're going to get 100% dropped.
Little do you all know that I took fencing at Rice, which was taught by the men's Olympic coach.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, our final was we had a big tournament with everyone in the class, and I won the tournament.
Wow.
So I at least have 1 semester's worth of sword fighting experience. Percy would still kick my ass, but I could put up a fight. So when he inevitably stabbed you with a riptide, would you rather A, bleed blood, B, bleed golden ichor, so I'm a god now, C, have regenerative earth powers because your mother is Gaia, or D, explode into dust? I guess if I have to pick those options, I would go with bleed blood. Don't want to have the golden ichor because then I'm a god and I live forever, and immortality does not sound cool based on the Percy Jackson books. If I pick the one where my mom is Gaia, then my mom isn't Barb Schubert. Big Barb Schubert fan here, so I don't want a new mom. And if I explode into dust, I'm a monster. So I'm going to pick bleeding blood.
I like the idea of exploding into dust and then just seeing what's up in 30 years. Just like my next thing being like, did we fix it? No? Okay. All right.
Catch you guys later.
Well.
All right. So this is going to be the final email. And this is from Celine. Celine says, "Hi, Mike. Enjoying the California. My question is, who do you think would do better in Taskmaster, Percy, or Annabeth? Have you watched Taskmaster?"
I watched TikToks of Taskmaster,
Okay.
so I don't know what the premise of the show is.
Incredible program. Cannot recommend it enough. They're not paying me to say this. It's a British panel show where they do all these little tasks where it'll just be like you're in the backyard and there's a bunch of rubber ducks on a fence and you have a bucket of tennis balls and it's just like knock the rubber ducks off the fence. You can't cross this line. And you have 30 seconds, go. Or it'll be like there'll be a treadmill and there's a basketball on it. It's like the treadmill will start in 30 seconds. Keep the ball on the treadmill for as long as possible. Your time starts now, and then they have to run and get something to keep the ball on. It's so fun. You just get to see comedians do these ridiculous high stakes tasks, and I would love nothing more to be in this program, and I will never be on this program because I'm not a famous British stand-up comedian. But if I could pivot into that career just so that I could be on Taskmaster, maybe. Anyway, who do you think would do better, Percy or Annabeth? Do you think Annabeth would fall into the too smart for her own good category, so trying way too hard and spending too much time to come up with a complex solution? Or is she simply too elite? I feel like they would both do very well because sometimes the person on the show that's just the time starts and they're like, I'm just going to do the first thing that comes to my mind and not waste any time because a lot of them are time-based. I think Percy would do well in there. But I think Annabeth's got the good mix of smart for smart stuff, but then also she's still quick on her feet and all of that with all of her knife skills. So I feel like Annabeth would do better from the two. As the resident expert and someone who's watched a couple TikToks.
Yeah. I've seen some TikToks, and I would also go Annabeth because she has the heart of a champion.
All right, great. I love it. Now, there is a goofy extra question that Selena's asked that I think is a perfect way to end the show. Do you think Percy is pro or anti automatic sinks?
Like a sink where I put my hands in? It's okay.
I guess he's the water god, supreme lord of the bathroom.
Anti. He can't hold his hand there for long enough. He's getting distracted. It's like a full-on comedy of errors situation.
Right. I also think they're bad. So I think he wouldn't like it. I think the biggest problem with the automatic sinks, you do get, weirdly, I feel like the only place that lets you control the temperature of an automatic sink is an airplane bathroom. They've got some of them have the hot and cold, which is cool. Why is the development for bathrooms in an airplane bathroom the worst bathroom besides porta potty?
Yeah.
Why would not introduce that? So you don't get to pick the temperature. You just go. You have to stick your hand in it. It is annoying. Yeah. So I feel like he would be anti it because if you're Percy, every faucet's already an automatic faucet because you can just be like, I am the god of the sea.
He doesn't have this problem, but I do think he has an opinion on it, but he could just fix it.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing is when you've got your hands in there and you're like, is it broken or am I just putting my hands to the wrong spot?
Yeah. Just,
what's happening here?
It's also annoying when it's where the sensor hits is not where your hands are under the water, or if the second they go they're gone, so you have to constantly. Oh man, yeah.
I think who are the people in the arena, and what are they doing?
Okay, all right. Well, oh man. Well, That is time. So first off, thank you everyone so much for coming out to the show. Give yourselves
you.
a huge round of applause. Give it up to Grant for being an incredible guest for both acts. Give it up to everyone at Soda Bar from hospitality to help me out with the merch table, to the sound. Everyone here has been lovely, so please give them a whole round of applause as well. A wonderful team here. And yeah, I'm just very thankful that you all came out. We gotta like clean up the money mess we made on stage and then go back. I'm not gonna be able to like hang out after the show, like COVID reasons and all that. I'm trying to keep it a little bit safe. So thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And I guess we'll do, I'll see you later.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campomanes and Brandon Krugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you love the show, you're all caught up on the show, and you just can't get enough, you should check out our Patreon, where you can get access to loads of bonus content, bonus episodes, bloopers, director's commentary, monthly Q&A live streams, all sorts of good stuff lives at thenewestolympian.com/Patreon. And if you want to rep the show, you can get some merch at thenewestolympian.com/merch. If you want to be part of a larger community, you can join the Patreon, get access to our Discord, but you can also check us out on social media. We're at Newest Olympian on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewestolympian. We even have a TikTok account that Sherry runs. It's at Newest Olympian, and lots of good stuff on social media. This show wouldn't be possible without our patrons, and I want to give a shout out to our Ultra God tier patrons: Lotta Bartova, Kelsey Gillespie, The Damn Steam Nuggets, Vicky Garcia, Ellie Hoskovchova, Veronica Bartova, Haley Hastings, Robin Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Olivia Y, Craig McRoberts, Taylor Payne, Giselle Salvador, Peter Johnson the Twin, Sabrina Balsiger, Boney Pony, Heather McMillan, Casey Williams, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Bridget Lowry, Josh Sayer, Josh Wilkie, Abby Ryan, Wise Girl, Ashton Gabrielson, Marco Redhouse, Falcon Joey, James, Christopher William Boucher, Caden Max, Sam Reeby, Carly Allen, Riley Kiedis, Mary Kelly, Audra, Mackenzie, Mrs. O'Leary, Aaron Wood, Rodith Kalna, Milo Kim, Fred Cabras, Harlan Christ, CC Reeds 23, Sandkoff, Julia Kendall, Emil Oscar Thomason, Liz Cardigan, Michelle Spurgeon, Zachary Hamilton, Sarah Neal, Ricky, Francesca Pacheco, John Drillsma, Demigod Nurse, Rayla Matthews, Riley Draken, and Luna Cadu. If you want to help out the show in a non-monetary way, tell a friend about the show. That really helps a ton. Reach out to someone directly and say, hey, you love Percy Jackson, or hey, you've been looking for an excuse to read Percy Jackson. There's this podcast. It's very good. The host is very humble. You could also talk about us on social media or leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast app you're using. All these things help, and I really appreciate all of you who have done that or will do it in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tuned into our next episode, where we will be joined again live, again by Grant Raun, but this time in Los Angeles, California, as we cover chapter 15 of book 4. But until then, I'll Percy you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mix. So this ASMR Mix segment will be travel inspired. Recently, my parents, for my birthday, got me an e-reader, which has been really nice because I like to read books of the Percy Jackson and non-Percy Jackson variety when I am traveling, but there's usually not a lot of space in my luggage, especially when I'm on tour and I've got a whole bunch of merch and stuff. So they got me an e-reader. It's been very convenient, and it has a nice textured case. So I'm going to rub, scratch, and tap on it for this ASMR Mix segment, and hopefully it sounds nice. Thank you so much for listening.